In this episode of the Bannerlord Perks Guide, we will look at the athletic skill perks. By the end of this video, you will have a complete understanding of what each one does and which to pick based on your specific needs. I put timestamps in the description for your convenience, and without further ado, let's get started. Morning exercise. Starting off this perk guide with a movement speed perk, my favorite. We can see from testing over 20 seconds of runtime resulted in 3 meters closer with the perk. The captain perk gives foot troops 5% faster movement speed, which seems decent. Well built. Adding 5 HP to our main character by itself isn't great, but can make a big difference when combined with other HP perks and good armor. The secondary perk is tagged Party Leader and increases our foot troops HP by 5, which is amazing. Tough pick here. The best way to approach this is to determine if you will stack HP or movement speed perks and then stick with it. If you aren't stacking either, then take Well Built for the troop HP gain. Morning exercise is the only pick for captains. Form-fitting armor. Decreasing armor weight is essentially a movement speed buff when you're wearing heavy armor. As we can see from testing, it does reduce the armor weight for any armor type, but the difference is much bigger when we're wearing heavier armor. With light armor, there is no difference with and without the perk. Wearing the heaviest armor in the game produces a 4 meter difference by the end of the run, which is even more than the level 25 perk. The captain perk increases movement speed of tier 3 and higher foot troops by 4%, which can stack nicely with the previous captain perks. Fury. This perk increases the handling of all weapons while on foot by 10%. This generally helps the most with weapons like two-handed axes and swingable polearms that have a huge swinging arc, although by itself it was difficult to see the difference with the perk. The captain perk does the exact same thing, but for our foot troops. The pick here is usually form-fitting armor, although there is an argument to be made for stacking handling perks from the melee perk trees. Or, if you're mostly doing mounted combat but have a few points into athletics for sieges, then I think Fury is a good pickup, otherwise form-fitting armor is the pick. For captain perk, I still prefer form-fitting armor. Having going. I expect some Tailworld's maths when testing this perk, but to my shock, it actually made a big difference. We have an 84% and 36% chat check pass, and a 14% critical failure chance without the perk. When we pick up the perk, these numbers change to 100%, 47%, and 9% respectively. Not only does it help pass chat checks, but it decreases the failure chance as well. The secondary perk is tagged Party Leader and increases party size by 5, which is great. Stamina. The most annoying part of crafting is waiting for stamina to recover. This perk increases recovery rate by 50%. We tested how much stamina recovers after 12 hours. Without the perk, only 60% was recovered, but with the perk, it shot up to 95%. The secondary perk is also tagged Party Leader and gives a flat 5 increase to prisoner limit and a 10% less chance of prisoners escaping. The pick here is easy. Having going is just too good to pass up. Waiting for stamina to recover isn't a big deal, and prisoner limit or a 10% escape chance is rarely a factor. Having better chat outcomes is great for getting married and recruiting nobles to your own kingdom, which is amazing. Party size increase is equally amazing. Powerful. This perk increases all melee damage by 4%, which isn't a large amount, but it does work for all melee weapon types. We see in testing an increase of about 9 damage at the high end of the range. The low end will vary widely depending on weapon handling. The captain perks up the signature Tailworld special, a 2% increase to damage. Sprint. Tailworlds is on a roll, another movement speed perk. This one works when we don't currently have a shield or a ranged weapon in hand. We can see in the testing that we close the distance 5 meters sooner with the perk, which is more than the previous perks. The captain perk also gives a 3% speed bonus for foot troops, which can stack nicely with other previous perks. Similar to the previous picks, this one will depend on what you plan on stacking. If stacking movement speed, then sprint is the pick. Otherwise, powerful is the pick. And for captain picks, the same logic applies. Braced. If you've seen the polearm perks guide, you'll remember this exact perk in that skill tree. From testing, we see it works the exact same, taking charge damage down from 4 to 2. If we pick up the polearm perk as well, we see charge damage going to 0. The captain perk reduces charge damage for our troops by 50% as well. Surging blow. This perk increases the speed damage bonus while on foot by 30%. In the testing, I had a hard time noticing any difference, but I think I was moving perpendicular to the targets rather than straight on. Speed damage while on foot is small since movement speed is slow. The captain perk does the same for our troops. Braced is the pick for both main character and captain since surging blow is so underwhelming. A good day's rest. I'll save some time here. In testing, we see the perk makes no difference and appears to be bugged as there's no difference in healing rate with or without the perk while waiting in town. The secondary perk does work and gives 10 XP per troop per day while waiting in town. Walk it off. I wish I had better news for this perk, but it seems to be suffering the same fate as the previous. In testing, we see no difference in healing rate with or without the perk while moving. The secondary perk does work and gives 3 XP per day per troop while moving. The pick here is exclusively based on the secondary perk. If you find yourself waiting in town frequently, then a good day's rest is the pick. Otherwise, walk it off as great since it will be working for you frequently. Both perks are great for leveling up large groups of low tier troops. Energetic. If you constantly have too much stuff in your inventory, then this perk can help as it reduces speed penalty of being overburdened by 20%. In our testing, we see it doesn't actually reduce the overburden penalty, but adds a speed bonus that is 20% of the size of the overburden penalty. This means it cannot be exploited like the riding perk for hurting penalty. The governor perk increases hearth growth by 20%, which is actually really good for making villages produce more goods and earn more profit for the owner. Healthy citizen. This is one of the S tier perks and gives a +1 attribute gain to endurance. One quick note here, you don't get the attribute gain until you actually click done. Double check by going back into the character screen. The governor perk adds +1 loyalty to the settlement, which is great for stabilizing towns and getting better bonuses when above 75 loyalty. When picking for a main character, healthy citizen is the pick. Be aware, if you are already at 10 endurance, then this perk will be wasted as there is no way to go above 10. The governor perk is much more difficult choice. If you own a fief that is not on the front line of a conflict zone, then energetic is an amazing pick since your villages will likely not be raided and hearth growth will be useful. If you need the extra loyalty gain for stability or getting better loyalty bonuses, then healthy citizen's the pick. Steady. Another S tier perk. This one increasing our control by +1. The governor perk increases production of farms, mines, lumber camps, and clay pits by 10%, effectively earning 10% more profit from those village types. Strong. This perk is the same as the previous, but gives a vigor attribute point instead. The secondary perk needs a closer look though, and it's not working as described. Looking at our movement speed without the perk, there is no extra bonus. With the perk and 200 foot troops, we gain 0.19 movement speed. We up the troop count to 1 million troops and see a bonus reduced to 0.01. Scaling the troops back down to 400, we see the bonus change to 0.16, and at 100 troops, it increases back up to 0.21. Finally, with no troops, we still see an increase of 0.25. I also decided to test to see if cavalry was included, and it gives you the exact same 0.21 bonus speed with 100 cavalry units. To sum this up, the perk gives a campaign speed bonus between 0.01 and 0.25 depending on how many troops are in your party, regardless of the troop type. The pick here is tough. If you're planning on a mostly ranged playthrough, then steady is the great pick. However, if you're doing primarily melee or even an equal balance between the two, strong is the pick as the secondary perk is amazing. The campaign movement speed is really nice to have. Strong arms. This is another one of those great perks, giving a +1 focus point into throwing. Again, be sure to click done after selecting to get the focus point. The captain perk increases troop throwing skill by +20, which is a big increase. When paired with throwing captain perks, we can get a total of +65 to our throwing troop skill. Strong legs. This is an interesting perk as it reduces fall damage by 50% and increases kick damage by the same. We can see from testing taking this fall without the perk deals 14 damage and only 8 damage with. For kicks, we see 2 damage per without the perk and 4 damage per kick with. The governor perk reduces food consumption of the settlement by 20% during a siege. This can help a lot in avoiding prosperity loss due to long sieges as well as keeping the garrison from starving. The pick here is situational. If you're not using a throwing build, then strong legs can be nice. Fall damage isn't that useful, but if you like to fight in sieges, it can be fun. If you get cornered by defenders, you can always jump off the walls and survive. The kick damage is dumb, ignore it. For captains, strong arm is the only option, and for governors, strong legs is the only option. Ignore pain. This is an interesting perk as its use is situational but can be amazing. We can see from the testing that damage absorbed for the high end increases from 55 to 59 with the perk. These looters have blunt weapons which mostly ignore armor, so we tested again against arrows. We can see an increase of block damage by more than 10% here, going from 40 to 45 on the high end, which is a huge difference. One thing to note, this was tested with high end armor. If you're using low or mid tier armor, the difference will most likely not be noticeable. If our chest armor is 30 with low tier and over 80 with high tier, then the perk will give +3 in the first scenario and +8 in the second, which is nearly 3 times the difference. The captain perk adds +5 armor to all body parts for foot troops in the formation, which is a huge increase for lower tier troops and a moderate increase for higher tier troops. Spartan. This perk increases the damage needed to stagger our character. In testing, we were staggered by all hits except for 5 damage shots without the perk. With the perk, we avoided stagger more frequently and up to 6 damage. These are incredibly low damage numbers and very few units in the game hit that weekly. The secondary perk is tagged Party Leader and reduces food consumption by 20%. Be aware, this perk will reduce food consumption, but it will also reduce your Quartermaster's XP gain by 20% as well, since Steward XP is directly tied to food consumption. Personally, I pick Ignore Pain 100% of the time because I like to use endgame armor. Ironically, you need really good armor to reduce incoming damage into the stagger range to begin with, which means without good armor, Spartan is useless. Spartan is also terrible for Quartermaster XP gain, so something to consider. Mighty Blow. The final perk has 2 parts, one increasing the stun duration of our attacks that are blocked, and the other increasing HP for each level above 250. In testing, I couldn't see any difference between with and without the perk for blocked attacks. However, the main perk is amazing and can add as much as plus 80 HP to our main character at level 330. We're nearing the end of the video, which means it's time for the bonus, the Terminator. If you enjoy playing on hard difficulty but don't enjoy being one-tapped, then this is the build for you. The Terminator has spawned into Calradia and seeks his target, ignoring enemy blows in pursuit of his objective. In order to make this build work, we will select all of the perks in the game that will turn us into a tank. Every HP increase perk is picked up, along with both charge damage reduction perks, 2 projectile damage reduction, and an armor increase perk. A few shield perks can help as well, but it's not necessary. The end result is a build that can tank 20 plus hits and keep on going. For the first demonstration, we will solo a group of nearly 30 bandits. Target acquired, target eliminated. Notice the biggest threat to us at this stage are blunt damage rocks. We have nearly 200 HP and each arrow deals roughly 6 damage, so we can tank quite a few hits. Now we look at dealing with cavalry. We take no charge damage, so getting rushed by cavalry isn't much of an issue. A quick sidestep and overhead strike makes quick work of the enemy. This build does even better in normal battles with the full army to support us. No more worrying about being one shot from a sniper in the trees. If you want to help me out, don't forget to stab that like button before you leave. If you want to see more videos and guides just like this, consider subscribing. Let me know in the comment section below what topic you would like to see covered on the channel, and up next we'll be looking at the smithing perks. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.